Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Happy, what day is today? I guess it'd be Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the video. He's kind of funny, and I thought I would share that with you guys. I know it's not Monday, but I just wanted to share that with you anyway. We are starting chapter 9 today. Now, we're going to spend a couple days on chapter 9.1.1, and then we'll move on to chapter 9.1.2. And then on Friday this week, we'll have a quiz about the stuff that we've done in chapter 9 up to this point. So by now you should have done the exponent review, check, and reflect. Please make sure you're keeping up with that stuff. Please also make sure you're checking your homework and that you're following along with that. That is what I need you to get done. Okay. For today's lesson, you definitely need a paper and pencil. We're going to be writing some stuff down. We're going to be writing a lot of stuff down because today is mostly definitions. In fact, today, for the next 3 days, we're going to kind of go off to something we've never done before, which is a lot of geometry work. And so some of this stuff may be very, very straightforward for you, and some of it you may even know, but please don't get cocky thinking that you know it all. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that will probably be very new to you. Okay. Not complicated, but definitely different. Okay. So you definitely want to pause if you're getting overwhelmed, rewind, copy things down, write them down on a piece of paper in a way that will be clear and neat for you because a lot of definitions are coming your way, a lot of information is coming your way. Okay. And then you'll get some worksheets to practice with. Now, if you are having problems printing things out, if you do not have a printer at home, please, you have a couple options. Number one is let me know. And there's a possibility I can make some packets for you guys that you can pick up at school on Monday and then do it that way. The other option is for you to just go ahead and bring it up on the screen and do it on a separate piece of paper. Okay, so I will usually have the worksheet and it'll just be another button here that you can just click on um, and it'll bring up a PDF, a picture of the homework, and you can just do it off that. So if you want to, you can do that as well. Okay. All right. So there's just a couple options for you to do with that. Okay. All right. Let's begin. So our goal today is determine facts formed by parallel lines cut by a transversal. And you're like, what on earth is that? That's one of the things we're going to address. If you do have a calculator, it might be good for you to have a calculator today anyway, just to make sure we point that out. Okay. All right. In the previous course, you probably learned the vocabulary and considered the relationship created by two intersecting lines. So it means you've done it before. Let's see if you remember. Now you will look at the vocabulary and relationships created by a line that intersects two parallel lines. Now, to address that, we need to cover some information. First of all, and the first definition, I want you to write this down. So please, on your paper, please write 911 at the top of the page, and then go ahead and start writing these definitions. So the first one is parallel lines. Look at how it's spelled. Okay, parallel lines. What is it? You should have a pretty good idea about it. So let's see. Parallel lines look like this. Now, what's the key thing about parallel lines? What's the main thing about it? It is two lines that go on forever that never, ever will intersect or cross. Okay. Now, I'm going to try writing some stuff down. Definitions are pretty easy for me to do, so I'm actually going to type those. So here we go. Two or more lines that continue in opposite directions never cross or intersect. Okay. Four more lines that continue in opposite directions. So it goes, it can go this way and this way. So opposite directions, but never cross or intersect. The perfect example of that is railroad tracks. Okay. So for the most part, railroad tracks will continue. Yes, there are those points where you can change them and you can guide them to a different track. But for the most part, they will always continue at a distance and never cross or intersect. Parallel lines. Got it? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Next one. How about perpendicular lines? Now, what is true about perpendicular lines? Do you remember them? Write that definition down. And if you need to pause it at any point, pause it so you can write down these words, but write them down clearly. And do write down the examples. So, like in the previous one, make sure you draw a set of parallel lines. Okay. Oh, by the way, I forgot to point out there are a couple things that you need to know. These lines look parallel, but really technically we don't know unless we see something. Now, see this? It's a new pen. I'm trying it out. Hopefully, I can write a lot clearer. Technically, if these are parallel lines you should look like this. Should have arrows on them to indicate that they're parallel lines. Okay, so those two lines indicate that those two lines are parallel. Got it? Otherwise, you can't really know unless they say. So in the instructions, if they say these two lines are parallel, then you know that. Okay, cool. Perpendicular lines. Well, what's true about perpendicular lines? Can you draw me an example of them? Hopefully you can. Here we go. Perpendicular lines should look like this. Okay, now perpendicular lines are lines that cross at a right angle. At a right angle, which, by the way, a right angle is a 90-degree angle. Now, again, as you see these right here, they cross, they make a right angle. Technically, though, I don't know if this is a right angle. I don't know if these are perpendicular. What should I really have to know if two lines are perpendicular? Well, I should have a right angle sign. So technically, I should have that right there. Now I know these two lines are perpendicular. Okay, so please draw your perpendicular lines and have that information there. All right, and you're like, I got this, no problem. Well, okay, it gets a little bit difficult, more challenging, but that's okay. Vertical angles. Now, please don't be fooled by the def or by the word. You think vertical angles, you think, oh, angles that go straight up and down. Not necessarily, okay? So vertical angles look something like this. Now you see all these angles. Now these angles are represented by numbers. So that like angle 3 is this angle right here, and that's number 3. Number 2 is this angle here. Number 1 is here. Number 4 is here. The vertical angles are anytime two lines cross. Vertical angles are diagonal from each other. So 1 and 3 are vertical angles, 2 and 4 are vertical angles. Now, why would they say vertical instead of diagonal? I don't know. But that's just what they decided to do. Okay. So please draw this example right here. Draw that right there. Okay. Put those numbers just like it's got right there. And then vertical angles. Okay. Angles 1 and 3. And then 2 and 4 are vertical angles. Okay. Now, definition is kind of hard to give you a definition, but I will say this one very important thing for you to be aware of. Okay. And let me go ahead and show you here. Let me erase here so I can have some writing space here. Okay. One of the key things about vertical angles, check this out. Well, if these two angles are the same and these two angles are the same, well, or vertical angles, then that means that they're actually the same. Now, we're going to address why that is in just a minute, but these two angles are congruent. So basically, we're going to say they are congruent. Oh, I like congruent. My pen does pretty well on this. This is also a slightly different computer, which actually picks up the pen a little bit better. So it looks a little bit neater. It actually looks like decent handwriting. Woohoo! I've moved on to junior high handwriting, not elementary school handwriting. Okay, so vertical angles are angles that are across from each other or diagonal from each other, and they're always congruent. Okay. All right, we are halfway done with our definitions here, guys. We got this. Okay, we can do this. Okay. Our next word for today is adjacent angles. Now, adjacent is something that hopefully you have seen. You've looked at that word, you've heard that word before. Adjacent angles. Adjacent angles, well, this looks oddly familiar here. Adjacent angles, to be adjacent to someone is to be next to someone. Next to someone, like touching, like shoulders, sharing something. So they're right next to them. Okay, so please actually take a second and look at these shapes and tell me adjacent angles. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready? Adjacent angles. We have 1 and 2. 1 and 2 share this ray. So they are next to each other. So they are adjacent angles. There's more than that, though. 2 and 3 are also adjacent. 3 and 4 are adjacent. And 1 and 4 are adjacent. So those all four of those sets are adjacent angles, okay? Now, there's no necessary rule there. We don't know anything specific about those adjacent angles. We just know that they're sharing the same ray, so they are next to each other, okay? So they have to share, let's write this down. Definition here. Two angles that share the same ray. Okay. Now, a ray is a point that's a line that starts at a point and goes completely in one direction. Okay. So this is a ray right here. All right. So that is why these two are adjacent because they share the same ray right here. Okay. Two angles that share the same ray. Cool. All right, we're getting close, okay? Not too much more to go. Again, please make sure you're copying this down, draw this shape so that these numbers make sense. If you don't draw this shape, these numbers mean nothing to you, okay? Complementary angles. Now, this we have addressed. We have talked about this. Do you remember what complementary? Well, I'll give you a clue. One is complementary, the other one is supplementary angles, okay? So complementary angles are angles. See, I can write it down. Angles that add up to. Ooh, and what is it? Well, I'm going to give you a hint. It's either 180 or 90 degrees. Which one is it? 180 or 90? And I'll tell you a clue. The other one is the opposite one. Okay, so, or not the opposite, but the other one. Complementary angles are angles that add up to, oh, 90 degrees. So complementary angles look like this. Okay. Angles add up to 90 degrees. Now, I love how they actually put the square here. See that square right there? That square implies that this is a right angle. You really need to have that to know if it's really a right angle. Otherwise, you just don't know. They might look like it. It might be 89. It might be 91 degrees, not exactly 90. It should always have that right angle. For example, 65 and 25. 65 plus 25 add up to 90 degrees. These two are complementary angles. Okay, complementary angles. Okay, which of course then means that this other one, supplementary angles or straight angles, are angles that add up. Let's write this down. Angles that add to 180 degrees. Okay, angles that add up to 180 degrees. All right, write that down. So again, here, this should be a straight angle here. You see X and Y are supplementary. Now, how do you remember which one's complementary and supplementary? There's no, you just have to know it. You have to memorize it. The best thing I've learned with this is which one comes first alphabetically? Well, complementary. Complementary is smaller, 90 degrees. Supplementary comes later, 180 degrees. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Again, think about it alphabetically. Complementary comes first, 90. Supplementary comes later, 180 degrees. Okay? Cool. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So for today, well, forget the team worksheet. Do have a worksheet that you're going to do. It's on the same Google form right here. You're going to do the problems here. It says front only. It's because some of you might have it printed front and back. If there was a packet, it'd be printed front and back. Here, you're just going to do the front of it, and tomorrow we'll do the other part of it. Okay, so please make sure you have all these definitions written down. If you have to go back and look at them, do it. Um, if you have to rewind the video, go back and do it. You need to write these down. Please don't get cocky and say, I'm just going to remember them. It gets a little confusing, so please make sure you get this information down. Okay. All right. I think that is it. So hope that helps. If you got questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day. We will see you tomorrow.